Mr. Bera is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to continue a line of questioning that my colleague, Mr. Keating, started on. Just want to make sure I have the numbers correct in terms of it was 1.6 million Afghans that were displaced to Pakistan, 600,000 that remain in Pakistan. Is that correct, Mr. Sopko? Okay.
More than 1.6 million Afghans have fled Afghanistan since the Taliban takeover. Okay. 600,000 are residing in Pakistan.
Okay.
Now,
and the number I'm most interested in, again, is of that 600,000, we roughly, you'd say 2,500 of those plus their families would qualify for the SIV program.
I think we're hearing 25,000.
25,000.
I'm sorry if I misspoke. It's 25,000.
25,000
are
plus
waiting for resettlement, and that's
okay.
under various programs to the United States.
Okay. So we ought to focus on those folks because I assume those are individuals who either supported our troops, supported our mission in Afghanistan over the last 2 decades, or have ties and a reason. What can we do to, again, we can relitigate the past and mistakes and things, but one thing we can do affirmatively, and my district, I believe, has the largest number of Afghan refugees in Sacramento County. So a lot of these folks, I imagine, have ties to my constituents. For those 25,000 plus their families, we have to do right by them, right? We have to do everything we can to, these are folks that helped us. What are your recommendations of what we should be doing to speed up this process or get them to third countries if Pakistan is not going to keep them there?
I'm going to go out on a limb on this because we have not done an audit of the SIV program.
Would that be under your purview?
Well, I think somebody asked us on the Congress to do that, and it's not specifically in our jurisdiction, but we offered our assistance to state and aid, and then the state IG decided to do that, so I think they're still looking at it. But one thing I would focus on, and again, when the Taliban took over, the SIV program was saying it would take 26 months to process an applicant. It has just been reported by the Association of Wartime Allies that at the current pace, that 26 months is now changed to 31 years.
Right.
So it's either a funding problem, or it's a morale problem, or it's a not interested problem. I don't know what it is. I haven't been asked to audit it.
I mean, my guess is it's a process problem, right? I mean, if it was the process that was in place pre-withdrawal, that process was already incredibly backlogged and going slow. I can only imagine how much more difficult it is today with lack of paperwork, lack of, to try to do these clearances. Again, that said, we have an obligation to, look at that, think about how we can, certainly the folks that helped us, supported us, that are at risk if they were to get sent back to Afghanistan, I think we've got a moral obligation to do everything we can.
I agree.
Would you share that?
And, sir, it's not only those that worked for the U.S. government. It's the people who believed in the U.S. government and were independent journalists, or were judges, or were, like in our case, we have people who were prosecutors and police who actually were trying to clean up corruption. And those are people, they didn't work directly for us, but they believed in us. They believed in what we were selling, and that is rule of law. And those are the people who are equally in dire strait.
Well, that's something this committee, since we have jurisdiction over some of that process, ought to take a look into how we can, help those 25,000. In the few minutes or seconds that I have left, could you just comment on regional stability as well, in terms of, we do worry a little bit about spillover of terrorism and to other parts of the region. Certainly Pakistan's, had some of that. Are you seeing it in any other, areas?
Well, you know, we are aware of the regional instability in that area. We have not done any audit work, so I would just be reporting on what we're hearing. But I think General Sami Sadat, who was one of the best Afghan generals and one of the most aggressive ones, I think is speaking before this panel or a subcommittee of this panel this afternoon, and I think he can talk more about that than I can. He told me, he gave me an earful when I met him as part of our outreach program. And actually, we may be coming to your district because that's where we're getting a lot of information is from the Afghan diaspora. So we're actually trying to set up some meetings out there to learn more. So I think that's a useful
Great, let
way
us
to
know
do.
if you're in the district.
I definitely will. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bera.